Better late than never, right? Well, it's time to talk about one of the big hype animes of Umaru-chan this season, Himouto Umaru-chan. And guess who's not the negative angry one this time?
I fucking hate it.
I'm positive, as you all know from the non-spoiler, I actually enjoy this series, or at least enjoyed it enough. So let's start off with your thoughts there, Mr. Decision Maker.
Well, first off, we should mention that this is our second time doing this episode.
Yes.
First time we went on a fucking 5 to 10 minute tangent in which at the end of the episode, or the video, it just cuts off. So, I thought I was really gonna like this anime. I thought it was gonna be like a typical, like girl likes anime. And that would have been fine. But the fact I hate you see how she looks like when she turns into her like anime weeaboo kind of thing. If it was about her just being an anime fan without that form of hers, this anime would be good. I thought I was gonna really enjoy this anime, but her turning into that form ruins this entire series.
It's very distracting.
Because it's a giant leap from, oh, everything is normal to, bam, she's in this, like, different form that's really hard to look at it sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And I would have loved this series if it wasn't for that form. I was like, everything else is fine. There's a lot of humor in it. The fact that they make a bunch of video game references is really cool. But no, just her turning into that god-awful form turns me off from this entire series, and it actually made me stop watching the show.
Well, it's okay. It's over now. The pain's over now.
Well,
it's my understanding this thing wasn't the big ratings bringer in Japan as it was here, so I doubt we'll see season 2 anytime soon. But I think you do bring up the weeaboo thing, and for me, like, I would have been fine if the weeaboo element was what it looks like it's going to be, and is just like the sort of message or like a representation, or I'm trying to find the right word here. You at least get where I'm going with this. If it was just sort of like a visual imagery of what Umaru is on the inside, that she is just sort of this goofy, unrealistic child. But the problem is, I think the minute you introduce the element that it's real, or that it does something that physically happens to her, it just makes everything fall apart. Because, and I bring this up in the non-spoiler, when you're dealing with a slice of life comedy, you are to assume the world just works like our world works, minus the stylistic choices. So now you're like, she literally physically changes into this thing, but you can't actually address it because then you need to explain it. So it really just creates this whole big clusterfuck of confusion. Like, especially with that black-haired girl, Saite or Saye or something.
Oh, her, like other weeaboo friend?
Her weird sort of stalker, sort of confidant. What the hell were they going at with that? I have no clue what the idea of that character.
Another thing that pissed me off about this show was the blue-haired girl.
Really?
She was really annoying.
Her visual look makes no sense.
Yeah, like the only good defining things about the show were the brother and Abina-chan. That was it. That is sadly it, which I was really pissed off about.
And the problem I know going into the future is that if a second season were to happen, you're going to have to eventually address that Ebina is in love with a guy 10 years older, and that can't end well. I don't know if a show like this can handle an actual drama moment. Because you look at everything that tries to have some heart in this, and I think that if it was just a mean-spirited, really sort of off-the-ball, weird-ass comedy about this immoral, unlikable brat, I think it would have worked better. Or maybe if everything was in the weeaboo style. Like, if it picked one style of animation, then it might have worked better. Because the thing is, at least then you have an idea, but it's like with Watamote, it tries to put in some heart bullshit, and it just doesn't work. Like, did you see a lot of Watamote in this?
Yeah, slightly.
Which do you think you dislike better, this or Watamote?
Which I disliked better?
Yeah, well, I mean, which did you hate more?
This.
Yeah. Is this the visual style, or did Umaru annoy you as well? Because a lot of people hate this character. I was shocked.
Because, she's annoying. She's a fucking brat. And, yes, many anime characters are like that. But honestly, her weeaboo form makes you hate her more when she's a brat.
I think it's because you can't make a personal connection to her. It's like, we brought up Watamote. Tomoko is annoying, hateable, and a brat, but that's the point. And the thing is, at least I always felt like we understood what was going on.
It's not that she's a brat, Tomoko-wise. It's that she's just awkward, socially awkward. She can't, get a hang of that.
Yeah. Maybe it gets very old and boring after all, but at least I always understood where they were going with the character. I don't get what the hell's going on here. I think part of it, I wonder if the fact that Watamote exists and that was popular but got sort of a lukewarm reception as well. I can't help but wonder if maybe they thought that we sort of need to change things or maybe alter Umaru's character a bit so that way people don't just think this is the same thing. But I feel like in doing so, you do take away maybe what was going on. I haven't read the manga, I don't know. Sort of like how after Twilight, all of these other sort of teeny-type movies sort of try to either be darker or be more...
Some better than others.
Like Hunger Games versus Divergent type thing. That's what this feels like, because this is now the fourth anime we've talked about that has this sort of needy anime nerd character, and it sort of all goes back to the concept, or at least it did with Chunibyo and Aremo, of just sort of the idea that the guy always has to do everything.
Well, at least with Chunibyo, that was better.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think this is why I was a bit more okay with this show than you were, was that the brother was just so good.
Yeah, he was really good.
Yeah, and I think part of that is because if you look at this series, like, I sort of had a feeling from the beginning it would be more about him. For me watching it, it felt more like I'm watching this guy as he learns to have to deal with sort of a bratty child.
Well, that's also a thing that kind of pissed me off about this. I don't agree with you need to look at the secondary or main characters to make the show good.
I'm not saying that's what they should do, or maybe even they were trying to do. I'm just saying for me that's what it felt like. Like, he's got a more interesting character.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the fact that the main character isn't the quote unquote best character of the show pisses me off. Like, granted, there are many shows that are like this, and they actually do it in a much better way. But the fact that you should at least be able to identify even the slightest bit with the main character. But no, there's no redeeming quality about the main character in this show, and that pisses me off.
And I think it always goes back to the fact that she has no personality. She is just whatever punchline is going on. Like, do you remember that episode where she broke the brother's, souvenir that the coworker had got him? It's the only time in the whole show she's the only one in a scene, and I was so bored. And also, why does all of a sudden she think she needs to fix this thing? She has no problems pissing him off in every other scene in this show. So why is it that one time when she knew she wasn't supposed to go into the drawer and take the item, while being a 6-year-old and pretending it's a Pokemon to catch, I don't get what's the logic here? If it made sense, if there was just some consistent character to it, and I think that is really this show's big failing, is I just don't think it really knows what it wants to do. And I also wonder if, because of with the brother situation, maybe it's we're getting older, so we relate more to an adult male than we do a teenager. Let's be real here, we're not the demographic of this.
Yeah.
Although Ebina is great.
Yeah.
A lot of her games. I wish she got more time, though. You do sort of forget about her in the middle of the show. And then that other one, the Sae, oh my god, what the heck's going on there? She looks like Tomoko, which is really weird. And then it's like she's a stalker, but she's kind of not, but then she kind of is again. And Umaru, when she sees her, is like the weeaboo, so that's where it all fell apart, I think. Was the minute you introduce that element of, no, this is literally what's happening, and it's mostly so you can just do, identity theft and generic misidentification jokes. That's sort of the thing, is I don't think any of the things that hurt this show really had any good payoff. You take a Kill La Kill, for example. All the things in that show that don't work, you at least see how it could have worked. As to here, it feels like most of the decision-makings that fail, I can't see how they could have made things better. Like that, and the other weird thing, do you find it weird that everyone is like the little sister of another character in this?
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh my god, they needed to explain that better, because with the blue-haired girl and the foreign guy, or did you get up to that point where it's revealed he's her brother? I'm not gonna lie. When she first like gets embarrassed and runs away, I thought for a second that they were fucking or something. Because it doesn't help much that he just